Hey everyone, it's John Bellamy here, and today I am joined by the one and only master copywriter, Steve Plummer. Steve, how's it going?
Hey JB, how are you? Hi everyone, how are you going?
Awesome, I'm fantastic. I know we had this scheduled for earlier on the day today, and just like in business, sometimes things don't go right. And a couple of minutes before we were supposed to jump on online, we had a complete blackout. Internet was out, and it was just chaos. So thanks for hanging around this afternoon and all that. But hey, Steve, what I wanted to do, I want to get you to introduce yourself from in a moment, but I just want to share why we're on this call and all of that as well. So for everybody tuning in that may or may not know Steve, we've known each other for through different networks. We've done some work together and all of that for many years now. And obviously we've gotten a lot closer since I've moved up the Sunshine Coast. I mean, you're 10 minutes down the road, which is fantastic. And most recently, which was just last week, you had this magical book come out, The Influential Marketer, and I've got to do like what you did. I've just got to seriously, guys. When you buy the book, you will find yourself just doing these things,
right?
And the messages will just come in and and make you a better human being. So
I mean, it's slightly weird, right? Rubbing the cover of a book is slightly weird, but you just can't. I just kind of have to rub it.
But it is the genie in the bottle when it comes to marketing for small businesses. I mean, there you go. We're just workshopping ideas right now.
That should have been my tagline. I should have done this interview ages ago.
Yeah, I love it because I mean, this was only last week, and I didn't see an advanced copy or anything. We got to see it there, and I loved what you did with it. I'm going to read it for everyone at home. And you've got 366 cracking copywriting, marketing, and mindset ideas to skyrocket your results one day at a time. And it is literally like that. Like, you open up a page and it's like, do this, talk about this. This is the message for the day. Go do with it. And what I really love about it as well is you can just scroll through, open up a page and just go random. But anyway, we'll get into that in a moment. Let's bring it back. I'm going off on my tangents like I always do. Steve, can you just give everyone that 30-second overview of who you are, your background, and I know you've had some amazing success and worked with some great people in the copywriting space.
Yeah, sure. I'm Steve Plummer. I'm a marketing strategist, copywriter, author, speaker. I have worked in the direct response space for nearly 14 years. I haven't always been a writer, though. I began life as a high school teacher. I was a teacher for 10 years, head of department, deputy principal. I've also been a freelance journalist in my own time, done a lot of writing in the boxing space, interviewed all the top guys in boxing. But in the last 14 years, I have dedicated my teaching writing talents to helping business owners make more sales and become more sustainable. And we've seen some ups and downs in those times, JB, and I know you've been in that same space, right? And I guess probably the big thing that I've learned is that words really do matter, JB. I mean, it can be for someone not in the marketing space like you and I are. In the busyness of your day, you can gloss over things, but words matter, and how you use words really does matter in your business and can make a really big difference,
absolutely. I love it. I think you nailed it. Like, words, sorry to cut you off, words do matter. And I'm going to go straight to an example because I know we were talking about this before. You've got, pull up your little flyer there. Words do matter. And it results in dollars in the bank account, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that one that you've got there, because I think
this is a bit like a cooking show, right? Look, here's one I prepared earlier.
Exactly.
So I do have a client in the rural space in rural South Australia, and to give you a bit of background, there were every time there's a steel price rise, they let their list know, and it results in sales. Now, the challenge for me in this space was that over the COVID period, they had something like 6 steel price rises in 8 months, and so the challenge for me was coming up with different things or different ways of saying the same thing. So it was interesting, new, it was exciting, and there was urgency to it. And so here's one I prepared earlier. So, it wasn't just hurry up and get, hurry price rise. I mean, anyone can say that stuff, right? So it was a flyer. So yes, it was offline, but there was some online stuff as well. SOS, save on steel, here's your chance, etc. And then I know you like this one in particular, JB, the big squeeze.
Yeah.
Because farmers are very pragmatic, very direct. The buggers are screwing us again. We're being squeezed at every turn, kind of thing. And so I was talking their language, right? And so those promos did really, really well.
Yeah, no, I love it. And the reason I wanted you to show them as well is because they are actually offline, right?
Yes.
And we speak to small business owners all the time, and there is just so much focus on digital, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of this stuff. And like, yes, we know that Australia Post is delivering less. There are less frequent deliveries in the inboxes and all of those bits and pieces.
It's more expensive.
It's more expensive, all of those things.
Longer, slower, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But they still work.
Yes.
Like, it still works crazy. And I know I've shared that story with you before of we wrote that little one-page direct mail flyer for my brother who's a plumber, and it was literally fixing toilet cisterns and seats, and he would just go and walk the street and drop them off, and he would make thousands of dollars every single week off this one. That's all he didn't have a Facebook presence, didn't have a website, nothing. So it still works. But the beautiful thing is with those direct mail pieces, and like what you said, you can then bring that online as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, when working with a client, JB, that's what I always advocate, is a multimedia approach. The more media you can hit, the better. So for example, that the SOS and the big squeeze, that had page in a newsletter, it had the flyer, it had a catalog, it had SMS, it had little advertisements on their website, it had an email campaign as well. So multimedia, you've got to be hitting people in different ones, unless you find a bit of a unicorn, your brother-in-law's flyer, right? I mean, that those things can still work beautifully, but sometimes they are a unicorn. Yeah,
I love it. So there's so many different things that we can do. And as you know, I speak with our clients every single week, and we do a lot on the LinkedIn side of things, a lot on the email marketing side. And they're always looking for new ideas. They're looking for ways, and most of our clients are either like a local service-based business, or they've productized the service in more of a consultancy realm. We've got a couple in SaaS and all of that. But they're typically selling something, for the most part, something that's got, a minimum ticket item of around that 5 to 15 grand is usually where they're at. And I know one of their biggest challenges is they just get stuck. And this is why they come and work with us and all that, but they're like, I know what I've got to deliver. I'm good at delivering it, but I'm just really stuck in, how do we get that, thought to paper? How do we create that? And like, for a lot of them, we talk about, video now, like video and just regular video content is key. We talk about utilizing case studies. We talk about leveraging like email marketing and landing pages, but for them, it's still that, okay, there's all of this noise, all of these things I need to do. How do I start? And I'd love to hear, because I know there's some things here in the book, and I'm going to get to a couple of those in the moment. But I think, like, if we started, actually, let's start with one now. On page 18, just for everybody reading at home when you've got your book.
After you've rubbed the cover, right?
Yeah, after you've rubbed the cover. There's a page there that you're dedicated, or a chapter that's dedicated to how to open a sales message. Number one, and I loved your example in there. Are you able to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I will go back a step though. I don't start at the start like that, right? I actually write the offer. What am I going to get people to do? Then I'll write the headline. And then I'll come back and start writing the sales message, right? The reason I do that, I found that when I first started writing, the two really important parts are the headline getting attention and how the offer comes across. And if those two aren't strong, it doesn't matter what's in the middle. And so I found that if I started at the start and then finished at the end, by the time I got to the end, I was exhausted, right? Because writing takes effort, right? And so I'll actually start at the end. What do I want them to do? I do that. Then I go back and do the headline, and then I write. And so, if I reckon for 80% of the messages that I send, JB, that it's this old 1-2 combination. If you have this problem, here's a solution. If you want to save on steel, get in now. If you want to save on steel with your farm shed, now is the time. Problem, solution. Keep reading for the details, right? It's as simple and as bland as that.
Yeah.
but it still works. And I think that's a key part with the book. It touches on all those fundamentals. If you learn the fundamentals of copy and what works, you can then apply them to every media, from TikTok to, flyers in a letterbox. You learn the fundamentals.
Yeah. And do you think, because like what you just said, essentially, if you've got this problem, here's the solution, right? Like for so many people, they go, oh, but that's just too simple. Surely it's more complicated than that. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but for me, speaking with all of those small businesses all the time, I think that's where the becoming overwhelmed, unstuck is, that they don't have, not necessarily the belief in themselves, but they don't believe that it could actually be that simple. Like, yes, I need to go and do some work, but it could actually be that simple to capture that attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think of, put yourself in the reader's shoes, right? Or your market's shoes. If someone came up to you and said, hey, John, have you got this problem? You go, yeah, would you like a solution? You've got your foot in the door, right? You're halfway there. And so if you can open a sales message, if you've got this, and this problem, and you want a simple, cost-effective solution, read on. Here is the answer, or some version of, that's very raw, obviously, but it's some version of that, literally, right? And then you've got interest. You don't, and this is one of the things I think too, JB, a lot of people think that I've got to be creative and a really good writer. And that's not the case. You've just got to know how to structure the words, because really good copy is not about creativity, it's about structure. So if you learn the fundamentals and structure your message correctly, you can really quickly get some powerful, really good sales messages, out in the marketplace.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember, like, instantly the thought came to mind was when I started out with LinkedIn, right? And we were just testing the connection message. And like, let's be all clear. It doesn't matter if you got 10,000 connections or 100, you can still go and make some quality money. It's about the targetability of them, right? But the acceptance rate is still really important, like, because the more people that you have in your network who have accepted your connection request, the more influence or opportunity you can have to put your message in front of them. So one of the things that we tested over about 3 years was in that that connection message, and particularly the thanks for connecting message. And we started with, in the thanks for connecting message, to be like, hey, great to connect, Steve. I'd love to know, how are you using LinkedIn at present? ? John. And that was my standard line. And we'd get like about 10% response rate, just like people opening up conversations. And over time, we just tweaked that line. I'd love to know. And we ended on, and it's so crazy, we ended on, I'm curious, ... how are you using LinkedIn at present? ? That went from like a 10% response rate to about a 30% response rate. Like that's massive. And all we were looking for, it's not like people coming back to you and throwing their credit cards at you going, buy my stuff, but it started to open up that conversation. And then we were able to start to delve deeper into that. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, because when I speak to clients, I sit there and I go, we talk about email marketing. The whole idea of sending an email, number one, is to get them to open it. So subject line's important. Once the email is opened, well, then we need them to engage in it and therefore take some form of action, whether it's click a link to go to a landing page or reply to an email. Like that's its purpose. And then once it goes to the next step, there's another purpose from there. Like, I see so many people overcomplicating that. They put too many messages in there. They try and make it look all newslettery and fancy. Like, I'm curious, like, from that fundamentals of the structure, could you maybe bring some wisdom in on an email, for example?
Yeah, the two, in my experience, the two most important parts of the email, obviously, is the subject line and that first line. And I make them. And again, for every rule, there's always exceptions. So understand that, right? For every rule, there's exceptions. But I generally make the subject line, if I can, about 4 words. And that first line, 5 to 7 words. So it's quick and it's easy, because we're all flickers, right? And so if you can make them as easy as possible, that generally works a lot better to get people into the message, because I want them really quickly to get into the message and the meat and potatoes of what I want. And like you said, people often do, again, think they've got to be creative, think they've got to come up with something really different. But, short opening, a bit of an agitation of a problem, as in why they would bother reading it, and then a call to action, click here, reply to this email. That works quite well these days as well, right? If you're interested, reply to this email and I'll take it from there.
We've seen that particularly on like messaging, like whether it like email or even simply like LinkedIn messaging. We'll talk about with our clients who might have a case study, they might have a report, whatever the lead magnet is. We go, we've tested it, and if we put the link to the landing page in that LinkedIn message, for example, versus just going, I've got this thing, this is what it is, would you like me to share it with you? Just hit reply. The response rate and the engagement rate is so much higher on the just hit reply and I'll flick it over to you. There must be that less friction. Like
absolutely.
Here
you're dead right, mate. But how I frame that is it's a micro commitment. It's not a big, hey, come and buy something from me, but it's just a little step. The more micro commitments you can get people to take, the closer they are to, the whatever it is, that big action that you want them to take. So the micro commitment, like you say, if you can just get them to put their hand up, that is gold.
Yeah, awesome. No, I love it. So there's been a couple of things that I just want to rehash really quickly as we go through the couple of big takeaways. Number one's that structure.
Yes.
I said, like, it's if you can get the structure right, you're winning the battle.
Yes.
Like that's the big thing. And I love that micro commitments. And the reason I love that point there is because most of the clients that we work with, and I'm being very selfish here around our clients that we work with, most of the clients that we work with don't have a sales cycle where it's a lead comes in, someone jumps on a phone and they buy or don't die. It's most of them are 3, 6, 9 months sales process, right? And which is fine. So if we can get the structuring of the languaging right in the messages, whether it's a website, ebook, whatever it might be, and that just helps shorten the touch points required to get a conversion, that's dollars in the bank account. A lot quicker, right? Which is fantastic. So which leads me to the topic of the hour, and you can't scroll on Instagram without seeing a reel about 30 times, or maybe it's just what I look at.
But don't go there.
Yeah. Hold on. Bring it back. No. Is AI. So there's everyone's talking about ChatGPT, Jasper. There's a gazillion, there's literally a gazillion of them out there. I went through 30 minutes yesterday just scrolling through reels, and I was taking screenshots of oh, that's interesting, let me have a look. That's interesting, let me have a look. And this was from writing content to checking if it's SEO worthy to turning it into a video to there's just so many that are coming out so quickly right now. Everyone believes that it's going to take away the role of a quality copywriter. What are your thoughts on that? Because I have an opinion.
You an opinion?
No, never.
It's an interesting one. A couple of things, JB. First, just the speed at which this has happened, right? This was October last year. It's not even on the radar, right? But it was released the 30th of November or whatever, and all of a sudden, like bang, right? And now so we're in a moment, I believe, that's candle to light bulb, horse and cart to car, right? This is a quantum massive leap. That's probably the first thing, and it ain't going away, right? It's only going to spread its wings and pervade society so much more. And the marketing space is no different. So that's the first thing. It ain't going anywhere. So either get out or get on that wave, I think, is a message. If I was writing blog contents for clients, I'd be pretty worried right now. Okay, because people can, within a couple of minutes, get something that is quite serviceable. The other thing I will say, though, is that like with any computer type thing, garbage in, garbage out. So if your prompts with the chat software is ordinary, it's going to give you an ordinary response.
Yeah.
You know, I do also have, I think, a bit of a moral issue with it too, JB, because it's not really creating anything new. It's just drawing from what's out there. So it's not creative. It's not new. So, I mean, that's just a bit of a personal thing. The AI won't care about my personal opinion, by the way, right? It's not making it go away. But I've used it to do some research. You know, and again, it's all about the prompts that you put in. And it's been really effective and really, really good.
It's amazing what it can do. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's
and
insane.
I think, and the thing is too, as more and more of it's being used, there's obviously more and more stuff out there for the AI to draw on. So it's getting better and better and better and more refined.
Yeah.
So I think that's hard to predict where that's going to go, but will it be able to create really good connecting emotional messages? I have my doubts. And the other thing I would also say, if you don't know the fundamentals, you won't know if what, you know, the AI has spat out is good or not, right? And that's the key thing. You know, because you can get it to write a really nice poem among many other things, right? But is that going to be something that's going to connect deeply to your market, which a human can do? Because AI doesn't have that ability to connect emotively and probably also see patterns that are coming down the pipeline, which a human can do. That said, gee, it can spit out some really good stuff, like scarily so, right?
I see it as it's a game changer for so many, and 100%. You're either jumping on the bandwagon and going, how can we utilize this in order to help us become, you know, better, get quicker speed to market, whatever those functions are from an individual. The big thing for me is exactly what you were saying. It's around that emotional connection, and particularly that tonality in the voice of your uniqueness. And as an example, I was speaking with one of our clients today. They sent me a message over and they said, John, have a look at it. What do you think? And I'm like, structurally, as far as the outcome of what you're looking to achieve, I said, it's great. But I said, I know you, and I know that is not you. Like there is some language in there that is definitely the language that you would utilize, but it's just like, it's too corporate for your small business. Like, you know, like I just, and for me, like when we're talking about that whole multi-channel touch point, like I want people, as I'm sure you do, if people connect with me on LinkedIn and then they see this video, for example, and then maybe they see me at a speaking engagement or meet me in person, I want them to experience that, oh, that's John. Like whether I like him or not, whether I agree with him or not, that's sort of irrelevant. But no, he's congruent. He's being who he is. And for me, that's sort of, and once again, my opinion doesn't mean it's right, but for me, that's so important, particularly for that small, medium business space, because people are buying from people. Like they're not necessarily buying from the brand like Coca-Cola. You know, like the faceless brand. It's like, no, I'm you know, dealing with Jane or Billy or whoever from that specific company. And that's my concern with some of this AI. I think that people are getting caught up in it naturally because it's the new thing. And I hope it doesn't happen, but I reckon there's going to be that curve where everyone's been more focused on trying to create all this AI stuff than actually connecting. So there's going to be this drop off in sales because they've had this focus on, I'm trying to master this thing over here, but without having exactly what you said, the foundations, that fundamental structures. It could be soulless, you know, not emotionless, because it will write emotional stuff if you prompt it to, but soulless. And you're dead right. I mean, I sent an email to my list that I got straight off ChatGPT. I didn't edit it very well. Like I did a quick edit, but it wasn't, you know, and I did that on purpose and I sent it to my list and I said at the end, PS, could you tell this was not me and it was actually done by AI? You know, 90% of the people said in the first two sentences, I knew it wasn't you, you know, for that same reason, you know, and I think too, mate, if I go to that, there's no way in the world chat is going to come up with a headline like that connects to what farmers are saying, right? You know, there's no way that they can know that a farmer, because a lot of what, and this is the thing too, a lot of what I put in my headlines and in my copy, it actually comes from the conversation that I have with the client. And the client relates to me of the conversations they've had.
with their market and what people have said in their testimonials and all that stuff, and that is some area I think where there's a gap for AI and for the different chats out there.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's really cool. Anyway, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I just wanted to have that conversation around that today. Yeah. But yeah, let's just bring it back, because I know we've spoken about a lot of things. So just to recap again, for me, the key takeaways, and please tell me if I'm incorrect here as well. For me, the big ones are getting those foundations right around the structural side of copywriting, like really understanding that and investing the time to understand that. Second one was just, for me, I'm actually going to change it. It's about taking action. So it's not being sort of held up. And I know you've got a chapter in there about, it's pretty much imperfectly perfect in essence, getting it out there. And for me, it's like around the AI side of things, it's how can we utilize it to create frameworks to shorten the time or that learning curve or that suck, to then go and create that quality copy. But overarching for me, unless you are being you in your marketing, unless you're getting your personal voice across, being authentic, who you are, people can like you or hate you, it doesn't really matter. That's the big takeaway for me. What are your big ones? Because I'm sure you got some better nuggets.
I think the big one for me is with the AI is, by all means, use it, but use it as a starting point and a base, not a finishing point. I don't believe it can, to the depth that we want to connect with our market. I don't believe it's there yet to be able to just go and then send something out. I think good as a base, good as a thing, and then you put your own spin on it based on the fundamentals of copywriting and marketing. That's where I think a week-long task can be done in a couple of hours with the help of AI. Right?
It's insane. It's insane. We're when we're on our group coaching calls with clients, they're like, "Oh, we want to create something or other," and we're like, "Okay, well, let's just have a look." Boom, 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 boom. And they're like right in front of their eyes going, holy crap. Like that would have taken me a week.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't have even got close to that. Now I can just go and make it my own. And you're like, fantastic.
Yeah. As horrible as that is, it is also really spectacular, right? To see that before your eyes, it's just like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I can't wait. I've got to work out how Hannah can, you'll love this as an ex-school teacher, right? How Hannah can get her assignments. Have you seen the reel where they've got ChatGPT writing assignments in a 3D printer?
Wow. I saw somewhere where ChatGPT passed the bar exam in the US in one university or something in the US and passed some medical board thing as well. So it's scary. Yeah.
It's insane. Hey, Stephen, really appreciate your time. Going back to the book, I want to put a link in with the YouTube video, and we'll send that out as well. How can people go get a copy of that? Because I want to make sure that people do, because seriously, everybody watching this, it is a bloody fantastic book, and it is, just remember the genie rub on there to get the gold out.
Actually, I do want to say too, mate, I'm an avid reader, right? I read. But one of the things I find about marketing and business books, they're very heavy. They take a lot of mental power to follow the threads all the way through and the story. I've done this differently, like you said at the start, where it's a single sitting in a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes to get a really important message that you can then go and implement. So a page a day, that's the whole purpose of it. Yeah. So the influential market, I just can't stop doing it. I know it's weird, but if you go to theinfluentialmarketer.org, and that's where you can order your copy.